Hi, this is Ushio. Welcome back to Echo. We're still on Flynn's route fairly early on, and we're still trying to pursue our studies. So we're going to try and find Flynn at his work, and hopefully he can look up some historical details to help with our research into the history of the town. Cole's with us, and we're kind of trying to keep away from Leo, because he's a little bit of a stalker dude. So for the time being, we're keeping away from that guy. We pull into the gravel parking lot in front of City Hall. The stucco structure looks a hell of a lot more weathered than I remember it. Tarps drape the roof, and one of the windows is blacked out with plastic. City Hall is probably the oldest building still standing in Echo. From what I read on the county's website, it served as the town's post office back in the early 20th century. Before then, it was an outpost used as an intelligence operations centre during the years leading up to the Mormon Rebellion. Government spies were planted in the nearby settlements from Colville to Peyton, and delivered their reports on potential agitators at this outpost. They actually kept a priest on hand to help reaffirm the spies' faith in the true word of Christ. It's weird to think that Sydney was the last Mormon I knew. Are you sure Flynn works here? I exit my car, watching Cole stare ahead. His eyes are half-lidded, the ram seeming to stare for miles beyond the building in front of us. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Alright. Cole doesn't move. You coming out? The ram blinks slowly, his maw starting to hang agape. He shifts his bloodshot gaze toward my torso. Nah, my parents would flip. He flops his wrist in front of him limply, his tone tinged with effeminacy. Of the car? Okay, yeah, give me a sec. Carl reaches down, unscrewing the lid from his water bottle and taking a few hearty glugs. When Carl grabs the car's door handle, he hesitates, and after a moment looks at me. He's completely silent, sucking in his cheek on one side. Cole. Finally he speaks. I sort of agreed to come without considering that I'd be talking to anyone but you and the crew today, let alone the mayor and stuff. I'm still stoned as balls and I look like shit. He laughs, some in a self-depreciating fashion, visibly sheepish despite the THC still flowing through him. I think I might just chill here in your car with the air conditioning and the Huygen tactics. He holds up his phone, and I think I can just barely spot the icon for it in his sea of other game apps. Carl does look higher, though he doesn't appear any worse than he usually looks. Telling him that probably wouldn't do much for his confidence, though. Okay, reassure or let him stay in the car? I mean, I ain't gonna force no guy. You can stay here, no sweat. Probably a good idea, all things considered. You're gonna be alright in there. I mean, if you start to sober up, feel free to come get me. I could always use a hand. I'm good, man. He scoots back the car seat some, leaning it back. You got me up way too early to be hanging out proper like, anyhow. I'm usually sleeping until like 3 hours from now. You really sleep till 2 o'clock, dude? Yeah. Wow, jeez. Hey, don't judge me. You're the interloper here. I'm about to make a jab about where Cole learned a word that large, but reading his expression, it's evident that he's not in the mood. And honestly, neither am I. I toss him the car keys, and they bounce gently off the rotund bulk of his torso before he scoops them up off the floor mat. I'm gonna head inside and ask for permission to film, then maybe go through some files inside if they let me. Cole grunts. Yeah, they should. It's all like public record or something. Except for the aliens that crashed out here in the 40s, they're still classified, Agent Hunter. A pang of nostalgia shoots through me as I catch on to what Cole's referencing, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his lip. When we were little, Carl and I used to run around in old church clothes and pretend to be G-men hunting for aliens. H&H, Agent Hendrix and Agent Hunter. Our parents got so pissed at us for playing in the dirt in black formal wear, but we were super into it. Cole even drew up a zine, sort of documenting the make-believe adventures. Eventually Cole started getting really into superhero stuff and tried to segue our adventures into the Superwolf universe. I didn't like Superwolf at all though, and after an argument where I called him too fat to be a superhero, we ended our imaginary adventures. God, I was such a dick. Before I could say anything further, Cole's setting his phone aside and popping open my glove box. You still got those black sunglasses? Oh man, no. Leo said he liked them, so I gave the pair I had to him. I do have a tortoiseshell pair in there somewhere though. Isn't that kinda girly? Cole gives me a sidelong look as he withdraws the aforementioned pair, holding them up to me. What? Guys can wear tortoiseshell. It's not like they're polka dot or something? My mum wears these coloured sunglasses all the time. I literally can't see these without picturing her. Well, like, that's your personal thing? No one else thinks that. He slides them onto his face. They rest somewhat awkwardly on his sizable snout, unable to settle in place neatly. Your nose is too big. Carl pulls the shades off his face and limply tosses them in the dash, leaning back into his seat with a long exhale. Alright, well, do your thing. I'll be here. Right, back soon. Yep. I turn and head inside. Stepping into City Hall, the first thing I notice is how dry the air feels, like there's no ventilation to speak of. It makes me feel like I'm standing inside a really slow baking oven. Half of me wants to run out and jump into the first body of water I can find, while the other half just wants to curl up into a ball and nap. The faint droning of a voice on a speaker is audible. It sounds like some sort of outdoorsy hunting and fishing podcast. Chase? Flynn's tall, leering form emerges from one of the doorways, a stack of envelopes in hand. We stare at each other for a few seconds, as the reality of what we've done with one another is hanging pretty poignantly in the air. Hey? He exhales, his demeanour shifting, his raised shoulders going more lax, and his tail settles on the musty carpeted floor. What? He looks back through one of the doorways beside him and then back to me, his scale brow furrowed. For a moment my mind blanks, and I'm not sure what to do with my paws. It's really stuffy in here. Flynn looks at me questioningly. The only people who work here are reptiles, so we keep the habitat all dry and such. His gaze shifts back to the doorway again before returning to me. Is something you want? I'm kinda busy here. I clear my throat, crossing my arms and over my chest. Yeah, I was hoping to get permission to film around City Hall and take a look at some records. What records were you looking to go through? Well, I don't know. Flynn stares at me with an indiscernible expression. I'm just looking for anything I can use in my report. So you don't have parcel number or a date or anything? You just want to, browse? Well, maybe you could point me in the right direction? You're the city clerk after all. Flynn lets out a raspy exhale, moving to take a seat in his swivel chair at the front desk, his tail coiling around the base. Okay, the reading room is off limits on account the monsoon season took out a portion of its roof cover last year. I can set you up in the mail room with the microfiche and a computer for the time being. He grasps the edge of his desk, staring at the tips of his fingers. I need to check with the mayor to see what all we've got access to. Flynn's about to stand up again when another Gila steps into the room. Oh, she's slightly overweight and decked out in khaki shorts with a matching outdoorsy button-up top. Despite being indoors, she dons a large sun hat, also khaki, with a vibrant floral bandana around her neck. This must be the mayor. It's Flynn's aunt. I thought I heard another voice in here. I catch wind of her perfume, a strong, sweet pea scent that seems to fill the room. Her slitted blue-green eyes focus on me. It's almost like she's sizing me up. Are you from the grant committee? I pause and quickly shake my head. No, sorry. She visibly seems to deflate, her brow lowering and her eyelids drooping to a half-lidded lull. Chase. I'm Flynn's friend. That's so. Another one then. She looks over toward Flynn, who's currently rubbing his temple. He responds quickly. An old friend. Childhood. You've met Chase before, I'm pretty sure. Or at least seen him around town. She seems to think for a moment, before a look of realization comes to her. Oh, almost didn't recognize you with that, thing on your chin. I most certainly remember you. I blink, reaching up and covering my goatee instinctively. You were the one who was always palling around with the red wolf fella? Leo, weren't you? Gay couple, right? I chuckle a bit sheepishly, nodding. Having spent the past 3 years at Pueblo, I'm not used to people talking about me like this as I once was. Yeah, sort of. I mean, yes. She exchanges a glance with Flynn, who's looking a little bit tense. Chase is doing a school project on the town and wants access to records we got on hand. Did he fill out a request form yet? No, he just wants to browse, I guess. Well, it's only public records stuff that I want to take a look at. You still have to go through the process. Usually the requests are just for a parcel at a time. What sort of school project is this for, Chase? Well, I'm a journalism major at the University of Pueblo. I want to create a documentary-style video report on something, and I chose Echo. Oh, you aren't aiming to smear us to the general public then, are you? Her tone suggests that she's joking, but she has that same intense look that Flynn has, where I can't really tell for sure. Oh no, Mayor. You know, we have a grant application that we're interested in putting out there that requires a video entry detailing the sites around town. Would you be interested in that sort of thing? Oh, well, maybe? I don't know. I guess I'd have to know more about the project. Honestly, I can't imagine the sheer amount of sugarcoating I need to muster to create a positive report about this place. Fill this out. Flynn's pushing a form across the desk my way. The mayor clears her throat. Chase, where it asks for a lot parcel request, you can just put all inventory. Wow. Okay, will do. As I take a pen from Flynn and begin to write, I see him look up to his aunt. All inventory? Yeah. Okay then. He huffs some idly. The podcasters on Flynn's computer speakers are going into detail about creating complex fish nets and trappings. I'll leave you two boys to it then. Welcome back to Echo, Chase. Good to be back. Flynn subtly rolls his eyes, turning back to his computer. The mayor just smiles before heading back to what I assume is her office. I finish up the form in silence, pushing it back toward Flynn. He squints at it for a moment before speaking. Any word from Leo? The topic change catches me off guard. I look up to see Flynn leaning in close, his voice lowered. Yeah, he believed the whole spending the night at Cole story. Cole went along with it? Uh-huh. I ended up telling him the whole truth though. I guess I just started feeling real shit about all the lying. Flynn leans back in his chair suddenly, clenching his eyes shut tight. He opens his mouth like he's going to say something, but merely shakes his head. Chase, you fucking realise that when this week is over, you can just get to go back to college and I'm going to be stuck here with the results of all your shitty choices? You know Carl as well as I do. He wouldn't go telling Leo just to start drama, you know? And anyway, he saw us, you know, by the truck. Flynn's eyes open, and he just stares at the ceiling for a long moment. Fuck. Let's get your musky ass set up with the goddamn county guest log so you can access our GIS maps. He scoots back over toward his computer, beginning to type something in. I catch a glimpse of his desktop wallpaper. It looks like some kind of waterfall surrounded by a lush evergreen forest. It's kind of blurry, like a smaller image stretched to fit the size of the screen, but I also see a few transparent stock image logos overlaid on top. We got physical records, the real old ones, stored in the mailroom, though I wouldn't say the shit there is very browsable. Some religious historical society types came by 8 months ago and helped us archive a lot of it. They're all in the labelled manila folders along the south wall. Flynn turns back to the computer, pecking at the keyboard. For a clerk, he's not remotely a fast typer. Oh damn, I forgot to ask permission to film here. Flynn grunts. Permission granted. Go do that while I get this fucking thing working, you know? Glancing back at his screen, I see incorrect password, 2 remaining entries before lockout flash up. Is Flynn really bad with computers? Damn. After looking at his keyboard, it takes me only a couple of seconds to figure out what's wrong. Flynn. What? He snaps at me, and I can see his pointed teeth between his scaled lips for a moment. You got caps lock on. Flynn pounds the caps lock key with some extra force before returning back to his typing. Thanks, now fuck off for a bit. I stare at him, and I can't help but feel a twisting sensation in my chest. I'm not sure if I expected him to treat me differently after doing what we did, but I definitely didn't think he'd treat me worse. I tried to think up something to say to make this right, to make this not as awkward as it seems to be getting. Yet the longer I sit here, the more uncomfortable he seems to get. I guess I'm just literally leering at him like a creep right now. Fuck. I get up and head out, deciding keeping my mouth shut is the best course of action for the time being. Alright, we're out. The gravel parking lot makes it difficult to adequately line up my shot. Everything ends up looking slightly crooked. And I could probably fix it all in post, but that's more work for me, and I'm not looking forward to it. Cole, meanwhile, has his eyes glued to his phone. It looks like he found a pair of earbuds, because he's got those in too. Refocusing, I take stock of the footage I got from here so far. The midday sun means that my recordings are all pretty much well lit, but I can't help but think that a sunset would be more symbolic. Maybe I'll come back later. I don't know. Oh, phone. It vibrates in my shorts. What's up? Grabbing it, I see I've got new messages from Leo. Leo, leave us be. We're doing stuff. With Jenna and TJ playing football. I'm assuming he means soccer, but I decide now isn't the time to press him on word choice. Sounds fun. I'm filming with Cole, and Flynn's here too. I slide my phone into my pocket, unlocking the trunk of my car so that I can start putting away all the equipment. Quick response for someone playing soccer. Upon checking my phone though, the message turns out to be from Carl. Get back to work. No texting. Oh man. I look around the trunk hatch to see Carl's smirking muzzle, his chin buried in his hoodie. Stepping back behind the trunk, I begin to text back. I'm sorry sir, I hope that AC breaks in there. Yep, I'll get back to it. I'm so sorry sir. After hitting send, I set my phone down, beginning to look up the camera in the neon orange University of Pueblo hard case I borrowed. Another message from Carl. Oh, that's I'm so sorry daddy to you boy. Why? No, I ain't called you daddy, Jesus. Snickering, I text back. Don't play gay chicken with me. I'll totally win. I finished packing up everything and shut the trunk, waiting for the next response. As if on cue, my phone vibrates once again. Flynn's here. I also realised that now Flynn's standing at the City Hall entryway with his arms crossed, staring, furrow-browed at the car. Why the fuck is Carl here just sitting in the car? Grinning, I hold up my finger to him. I look over the most recent image. I don't like chicken. I like cock, boy. Okay, I smirk, eliciting a raised brow from the Gila. The hell are you two doing? I got your shit set up. You will not win this game, sir. Daddy, I told you, boy. Don't make me spank you. Carl needs to chill. Oh, he's fucking stoned off his rocker, isn't he? He ate too much of an edible this morning, apparently. Flynn looks to me, and then back to Carl. It's probably for the best he's staying in the car then. Come on. He turns, heading back inside. I follow, watching Carl smiling to himself before going back to his mobile game. Alright, what we got? Flynn leads me through the narrow hallways, the ceiling laden with visible old piping, and the walls covered in dents and scratches. Eventually, we turn into a colourful room that looks like a mix between an old post office and a kindergarten classroom. Okay, like I said, archive files are on the back along the south wall. The computer in the corner is logged into the county's GIS viewer, maps and shit basically. He points to a cream-coloured computer that must be from around the early 2000s by the look of the make, dust visible on top of the tower. Oh, so like where the native burial grounds and that sort of thing are? Flynn crosses his arms, looking back down at me. Yeah, no. As far as I know, the Meseta tribal government hasn't put forth any sacred site claims within miles of Echo. Wow, really? Really? Why is that? I don't have a whiff of shit's worth of a clue or care. Go ask Jenna if you want to be all weird about it. I don't think she has much ties to her tribe. Yeah, well, doesn't stop her from being a bitch about it whenever she sees fit. Flynn sucks in his cheek, as if saying that left a bit of an unpleasant taste in his mouth. Flynn speaking less than kindly toward folks isn't anything new, but not usually about Jenna. He looks down at some papers in his hand, as if they suddenly were very interesting. Is this about what she said when you got Cole the lighter from the reservation? His slitted eyes flicked back up to me, his lips thinned. You thought that was bullshit too, right? Well, I think she was just still in, I don't know, den mother mode with regards to TJ after what you did. If you want to get everyone talking again, you should just apologise. I mean, is he gonna though? There's a pause in the conversation as cloud cover shades the light coming from the window. It's not just about the lighter crap. She doesn't give a shit about me, and she really didn't give a shit about Sydney. I'll blink. I'm still amazed at how much his name is being mentioned after all these years of silence on the subject, especially from Flynn. He catches my expression and grunts, the gilly resting the side of his hip against the salting counter. When he died, all she fussed about was how it affected TJ. Sid could rot for all she cared. That's not fair. We were kids, and people react to that sort of traumatic stuff differently. Maybe helping TJ is just what kept her occupied. Oh yeah? Remember a few months before it happened, when all that shit was going on with Sid's dad? And fucking Jenna, all she did was try to shield TJ from all the negativity of the situation. She tried to help, but he was different. I don't know, fuck, we were just kids. No, she fucking hated Sydney. Cole hated Sydney. Leo hated Sydney. TJ would never fucking admit it, but he hated Sydney. And you hated Sydney. He looks me in the eyes now. I'm quiet for a moment, trying to think of what to say. Flynn, meanwhile, just looks expectant, seemingly waiting for me to blanch and try to defend myself. Sydney. He was an arsehole. He raised his chin some, his crossed arms seeming to squeeze more tightly over his chest. Yeah, so am I. No, not like him. Nobody knew him like I did. You said that, but it doesn't mean the crappy pulled-ness on TJ was in any way justified. I'm pretty sure he genuinely enjoyed watching people get hurt. Flynn stares slack-jawed before quickly gritting his teeth. He liked wrestling, he liked pirates, he liked pulpy adventure shit, but he did not like hurting people. TJ cried every day, no matter what. He could see a dead fly on a windowsill and start bawling. And you would all drop everything and come rushing to his aid, scorning the shit out of anybody who didn't. We couldn't make jokes, we couldn't tease each other, we couldn't roughhouse, and we couldn't even fucking swear without TJ getting upset. It isn't like we could just go hang out with somebody else. It's Echo, and Leo is fucking dead set on keeping the group together. Though now the group for Leo essentially consists of 2 members, your ass and his cock. I frowned deeply. Before I can interject, he continues. When Sydney died, you all convinced yourselves he was this fucking monster kid, so that it didn't have to hurt as much. I ain't gonna apologise, fucking hell, they should. Flynn uncrosses his arms, staring some at the sole window of the cramped mailroom. The cloud cover lifts. I'll be at the front desk. If you take something, always put it back where you found it. He turns, making his way back down the narrow hall. And I'm left alone. Everything feels quiet now, a sort of weird solace amidst the shelves upon shelves of Echo's history. I rub my face and muzzle, spinning a whisker as the previous conversation plays back in my head and begins to fade like a passing dream. With a slow exhale, I turn and head over to the archives. They all seem to be categorised by numbers like 1056609 or 1072101, my favourite. I grab a random file off the shelf. Okay, 106-01001. Flipping it open, I see a cluster of 15 or so papers and permits for a place called Adelaide's Thrift and Pawn. It sounds familiar, and it only takes me a little bit more perusing to figure out why. Near the exit from Route 93 to Flint Road, there's this faded old shack of rotten wood. Growing up, all that was left of the sign out front was Adelaide's Thrift. I think it's been bulldozed now though, since I didn't see it on the drive-in. According to these documents, Adelaide von Berg applied for and successfully obtained a business license and deed to the property in 1979. I'm guessing these folders correspond to a piece of property within Echo or a parcel. It helps some, but I'm not exactly sure where to look. I put the file away and move over toward the computer Flynn got ready for me. The screen displays an aerial photograph of Echo with little polygons drawn over it like a bizarre checkerboard. Clicking on one, nothing happens. I click again, and the pointer turns into an hourglass, the program stating that it's not responding. This computer is a piece of shit. Damn it. As the hourglass rolls on the screen, I think I hear the front door open down the hall. At first I wonder if it's Cole, and then a voice speaks that I don't recognise, and then Flynn's. I can only make out a little of what he says. That's what they told you at the county office? You could have come here. The hourglass spins. The unincorporation, it shouldn't affect developers who... Finally, a little window pops up listing owner, address, parcel number, links to building plans and other fields. Slow as hell, but this is actually kind of neat, I guess. Curious, I scroll over to the location of my old house and click. This time, it reacts a little faster. The complaint forms a physical, not much of an online presence that is currently listed as abandoned and condemned. It looks like the people my parents sold it to ditched it rather quickly. I move back toward the archive, picking up my old house's corresponding file and setting it down on the counter. Opening it, I see a weathered floor plan of my old house dating back to 1986. Nothing here could remotely be considered of interest for my project, however, so I put the file back where I found it. As I hear the increasingly quiet rasp of Flynn's voice in the other room, I realise he's probably too busy to hold my hand with regards to where to look. Especially after the previous conversation, it might be best just to give him some space. I stare at the aerial display on the computer monitor, trying to figure out where to start looking. Okay, the mine, the abandoned school, City Hall, and the mansion. Okay, all of these are interesting to me because they all seem to be kinda weird and cursed, especially Cole's house. We'll have a think on this. Hopefully we can make more than one choice here, so I guess we'll just start at the top and work our way down. We'll check out the mine. Wasn't there A murder there? It's super old, so it's probably going to be before the records exist. We'll try. There's something about the old mine that feels off to me. Unlike pretty much every locale in Echo, the mine was the only place we absolutely did not play. Sydney tried to make one of our scavenger hunt objectives down there once, but TJ told his mum about it, and that was the end of that. After looking up the parcel number, I retrieved the corresponding file and lay it out on the mail counter. This one had an archival notice attached to the front. I guess my hunch might be right. Opening the file, the first thing I note is that there is a seriously large amount of documents here, and even a laminated old photo. CM1915, huh? That's a hell of a lot more verdant than it is these days. Might have something to do with the damming that they did up north in the 50s. I'm guessing that the CM1915 is referring to the year the photo was taken, 1915. Within the folder itself, many of the documents seem to be legal in nature, including documentation about a lawsuit of some sort. The ones on top seem to relate to that tourism program Echo tried a decade ago. There's a few papers about historical heritage grants and the installation of a bench and 2 lamps outside the mine's entrance. There's even reference to a large placard installed into the side of the rock face outside, but I don't remember ever seeing that. Following this, there's another folder within that containing some condemned notices and squatter evictions from 1970 to 75. Said folder also notes a worker order for the installation of rebar bars in the mine front to prevent entry in 1976. Next, there's the actual lawsuit documentation itself. The lawsuit contributed in part to the official closing of the mine during the war in 1942. The working conditions were abysmal, and the owners of the mine were also heavily involved in the town government, so there were corruption charges. The Daneker mine, also known as the CSCG, was it copper, silver, coal and gold mine, was the most in-demand employer in the northern portion of the state for decades. This was in little part due to management by the owners, but rather the natural conditions of the mine itself. The structure of the bedrock kept cave-ins unlikely, and its chemical composition kept the temperature stable and somewhat bearable. Flooding was of minor concern due to the low water table of the region. In other mines within the state, miners may have been expected to stand in 2 feet of dirty water in 40-degree temperatures, all the while with the looming threat of a cave-in being a very real threat and provided with every strike of sledgehammer. Yet, even still, the mine managed to have one of the highest casualty rates for its workers in all the southwest. The suit argues that this was at root due to severe negligence by the owner, Gregory Briggs. Miners were required to buy their own tools, including candles, sledges, picks, stakes and even dynamite. Their wages, however, were of such little amount that many miners must have been forced to choose between having the tools and their family being able to eat that week. Many chose the latter, as most men who moved to Echo did so with the explicit purpose of being able to provide for said families. Briggs operated the mine under constant fear of worker unionisation. To assuage this, he hired an incredibly nationally diverse assortment of workers. His rationale, though denied in court, was to ensure that no group of workers spoke the same language, thus reducing the chance of collaboration, for better working conditions or wages. This preventative action was particularly heinous due to the nature of the work itself. Communications crucial, especially in the low light conditions of the lower depths. Despite the language barrier, miners were expected to coordinate dangerous group mining procedures. For example, for standard ore extraction, one miner would hold a spike to the mine wall while another miner swung the sledge toward the spike. With light sources being scarce, this meant that the risk of striking the other miner with the sledge was a constant risk, and something that occurred with some frequency. Many miners were crippled from blows to the paws or arms, and then once fired were unable to support their families. This led to several notable starvation incidents within the town. The lawsuit documents also includes reference to a brief riot in 1915 where a grisly murder took place within the mines itself. I make sure to write summaries of all this information down on a blank sheet of printer paper before putting everything back. That's a lot of back history to the town. It's this sort of crap that makes me glad I live in the age I do now. I don't think I'd make a very good miner. Okay, that's that I guess. Okay, the school? Okay, the school's spooky and closed. After finding the parcel number of the GIS thing, I can't seem to find the corresponding file to it. It's like it doesn't exist in any records here. Or it might just be misplaced. I'm going to go with the second theory. Maybe I'll ask Flynn about it later. Okay, let's try where we are now. City Hall. City Hall has a lot of history. I assume most of the really old stuff isn't on file, but I'd be curious to see what's there regardless. After looking up the parcel number, I retrieve the corresponding file and lay it out on the mail counter. This one has an archival notice attached to its front, which is good. Hopefully that means that there's some supplemental information in here. Unfortunately, upon opening the file, I see there aren't that many documents. There is, however, a marked photo of some sort wedged between the folder edges. Whoa, who's that? Is that really the date of origin in the top right corner? This photo of these guys was really taken at City Hall 100 years ago. I look back down to the folder, finding a caption note for the image. Sheriff William Adler left, and Wensleydale researcher Cliff Tibbetts on the right, at town meeting to discuss Echo-Meseta tribe relations. This is some deep shit. Adler. I just realised now, that's Janice's last name. Must be a distant relative of hers. She works in the diner. The rest of the documents in the folder just seems to consist mostly of proposed extensions and use changes for the building. A lot of them didn't pan out. There is a city government roster here though, and it lists the historical election results for the town, going back to the early 20th century. Surprisingly, Flynn and his aunt aren't the only Moores that I see on the list. It looks like the Moore family has been involved in public office in some capacity as far back as 1914, which is doubly surprising, noting the prejudice against reptilians that was pretty heavy back then. There's this whole negative stereotype about them being evil and controlling the government that persists even today, so it's pretty weird a family like the Moores managed to keep getting elected back in when the ignorance levels were much higher. I'll make a note and ask Flynn about it as sensitively as possible. Wow, that was cool. I'll go ahead and put everything back in the folder before returning it to the shelf. So, what next? It's Carl's mansion. Carl's mansion is huge and it has always been there for as long as Echo has been there, so this could be interesting. I know enough about Carl's family to know that his house is seriously old. His great something or other is the town founder after all. The place has been seriously modernised into a more stucco adobe style, but there's some history underneath all that. Growing up, Carl overheard all of this and started thinking the place was haunted, and it really freaked him out pretty badly. So much so, his parents basically begged me to have sleepovers with him during the weekends and even some weekdays. Not that I minded, of course. Carl had all the video game consoles that were out, and his parents brought him M-rated games. I got to stay up late with his big giant TV, blowing up aliens and running over hookers. I remember he started to become less afraid as time went on, and his parents stopped asking me to come over as much. So of course, the shitbag younger me told Carl a bunch of stories about our ghost bride who I saw standing outside his house at midnight, and that's how I got to spend my whole 5th grade summer vacation living at Carl's place. That's kinda harsh, man. After looking up the parcel number, I retrieve the corresponding file and lay it out on the mail counter. This one has an archival notice attached to the front. That's pretty surprising on account that it's a residential lot. Opening the folder, a photo placed in front of all the documents immediately catches my attention. Another photo. Who's this? Wow. A part of my mind immediately flashes back to Leo, but even he wasn't anywhere close to being this defined. I guess life in the early 20th century will do that to you. It's a hard life. Physical effort, labour and that, so I guess that's going to make you really ripped. I should probably read the caption note for this that was attached. Sheriff William Adler rests after surviving the partial collapse of the Hendricks Castle. Hendricks Castle? Below the note are some rather old rudimentary building plans crumbling at the edges. The penmanship is all weird cursive and I can't read it. It does look a little like Carl's house, but much larger. What follows are a series of deed transfers from various members of the Hendricks family, and eventually more modern building plans. There's even a cutout from a magazine, Southwestern Modern, which shows off the kitchen space back when it was first redesigned. I noticed something wedged in the back, a beige piece of paper that doesn't look like anything else in here. What is this? Embrace? What is this? A poem? Why would this be here? Embrace of these lands. As black takes the sky, hot turns to cold, the safety of ignorance from the spectres of the day. Shut their eyes, they wail, for the dark blanket, and to save them from her hell. And the blonde tarantula pulls itself from the depths, wrought within and without, in search of a suitor who will not live past the vehemence of its love. I flip over the poem and set it down on the counter. On the other side is a notice of a death for reference in an estate transfer. It's for James Hendricks, who passed away in 1913. The cause of death is listed as poison and infection. Tarantula. It's pretty unsettling. I didn't think tarantulas were that poisonous. I mean, I know they aren't, because I fear searched that information online one night after seeing one on my back porch at 3 AM. I guess that poem was some sort of informal epitaph for the guy. Regardless, it's a shitty way to die. I slide the poem death notice back into the folder and make note of it for the project. I think that's all for this parcel, so I place the folder back into its slot in the south wall. As I turn around, I see the mayor standing in the doorway. She's peering at me quizzically. A little startled, I straighten up. Hi mayor. I was just finishing up. She's watching me speak, like staring at my mouth and not my eyes. It's honestly freaking me out a little bit. She doesn't respond. Mayor? Make sure you put everything back where you found it. Oh yeah, don't worry, I did that already. Did you now? She steps in the room and picks up a folder from the edge of the counter. I recognise it as one for the abandoned mines. Sorry, I forgot that one, sorry. She stands there with the folder held out, waiting for me. I quickly move and take the folder. I try to ignore the hard stare I feel on my back as I walk to the archive wall. Far left, second copy from the top. Oh, thank you, I didn't, Looks like Flynn's about ready to take off. You gonna give him some company? The way she phrases that makes me reconsider a hasty response. Sure, I can hang out with him and his roommate. You have a boy in your car? I blink. I have a Carl in my car? Yes. He wanted to hang back while I did all the work, you know. I feign a chuckle, though not very well. I've never been good at that whole smiling with your eyes thing. Carl Hendricks. Yes. Have a good rest of your evening, Chase. Thank you, Mayor. You too. She moves on down the hall. After a moment, I follow suit to meet up with Flynn at the front desk. What was that about? That was weird. Dude, that's skeevy. After that, she just walked back into her office and shut the door, like almost slamming it. Maybe she's not a fan of you queer types. Wow. Carl puts on a southern drawl for the last bit. I step out of the car and pop the trunk, moving to gather up my equipment. The sun is starting to get pretty low at this point. There's not really any tall mountains to the east, so echo sunsets tend to last a while. Maybe, but she seemed alright with Flynn. Carl follows suit, though his eyes are still glued to his phone. I can't get over that whole there's a boy in your car bit, you know? Yeah, she seemed kinda, I don't know, weirded out with me or something. But she wasn't like that when we met. She was pretty cordial then. As I shut the trunk, I spy Flynn's truck parked behind the house, as well as what looks like a faded yellow moped. I'm assuming that that's his roommate's. Oh, the Ram shrugs. You are kinda weird. Maybe you did that staring thing that you do sometimes. I blink. The what now? Never mind, man. I frown. Carl looks up from his phone long enough to catch my expression. I'm just kidding. Just making fun of Flynn's whole dressing you down back at the river. Carl smirks. His eyes are no longer glazed over, and it actually feels like he's looking at me, rather than 1,000 miles away. We make our way up to the front door, Carl tapping away at the screen. Hard to imagine my house was even bigger back in the day, though. My parents already have more rooms than they know what to do with. Like, we've got 3 spare bedrooms, right? But we never have any guests or anything, so they don't get used and just gather dust and stuff. Do your parents make you clean them? Carl rolls his shoulders, idly wiping his hooves upon the rough palm fibre floor welcome mat. Sometimes. Knowing Carl, that means pretty much never. Alright, once inside, the familiar hot, stuffy climate hits like a wool blanket thrown around me. What sounds like some sort of lo-fi hip-hop is playing in the background, from what I assume is Daxton's room. The interior is dimly lit, with the exception of a bright white light coming from the ajar fridge. Daxton stands next to it, holding a block of pale cheese. Is this what you need? The salamander seems to be peering at us expectantly. No? He raises a brow ridge, craning his neck to look past us. I'm talking to Flynn. The Gida's large self steps out of the laundry room beside us, looking at Daxton. Oh, sorry. Carl gives me a sidelong smirk. That's the provolone the recipe needs Havarti? Flynn steps past us without much acknowledgement, moving to the kitchen beside Daxton. We have a block of Havarti, but it's in the freezer. There's this thing called a defrost setting and the microwave. Yeah, but you left the fish you caught all on top of it. The pack is sealed. Shouldn't matter. The whole freezer? Kind of reeks, dude. Like I said, the package is sealed. It shouldn't matter. With a shrug to Cole, I move in and set my equipment down next to the kitchen island. I take a seat on one of the wicker-top bar stools. Cole lingers in the entryway a bit before moving to sit on the stool next to mine. Flynn wordlessly goes to the fridge and grabs 2 bottles of light beer, popping the tops and setting them down in front of us. Thanks. I'm not 21 yet legally, you know. Flynn shrugs uncaringly before getting a beer for himself. Looking around, the countertops are pretty free of clutter, and beyond some Mesa Community College letters and a heavily used black notebook. The notebook is labelled World Building and Fictional History 204. A few water stains have shriveled the edges of the pages. Daxton places the provolone back into the fridge and places the allegedly fishy Havarti onto a plastic cutting board. Meanwhile, Flynn is now at the sink, washing vegetables. Daxton grabs a small knife and finally glances back at me. Welcome back, Chase. I wave, a bit limp-wristedly. Hey. He smiles, and then shifts his gaze to Cole. The ram looks up from his phone, a little apprehensively. And hey, I've seen you before, but I forget your name. Sam something? It's Cole. He answers, his voice quiet. Oh, well, good to meet you. Usually you're kinda in and out of here real quick, like when you do come by. Cole shrugs. Yeah, same. The ram's gaze flicks back to his phone, Cole typing something. Does Cole, not like being here or something? Daxton frowned slightly, before shifting his focus back to cheese cutting. Looking over, it looks like he's texting. The contents of message being, he's just typing random shit, alright? Hey, Cole. Flynn looks over his shoulder, scrubbing up what looks like a cucumber. You got your outfit picked out for the interview on Saturday? Yeah. Wait, what now? Cole, you've got a job interview? Yeah. I find myself smiling a bit. Cole didn't tell me about this at all. I'm surprised he didn't mention it earlier. That's great. Where's that? Cole stops typing, his lips pulling a bit tighter around the edges of his muzzle. It's in Peyton. Peyton Print and Design. I'd be like printing copies and making people posters. Oh, the print shop in the mall. I know it. What do they pay? Minimum wage. Not that it matters though. Daxton looks slightly confused, so I turn to him. Cole's parents are kind of well off. Flynn stops what he's doing, going to the fridge and taking out a box of strawberry popsicles. He drops it down on the counter beside Daxton, the salamander startling some, looking to Flynn, and then the box. Flynn points to the Hen's ice cream label, above a logo of the weather vane with a chicken on it. Cole's parents' company. Daxton lets out an astonished huff, looking for some sign of fib on Flynn's muzzle. No way. Yeah, Cole is very, very rich. Way, I'm the ice cream boy. Daxton blinks, seeming to look at Cole in a new light. That's really cool. Cole looks sidelong, and then back to Daxton. I'm glad you think so, I guess. Flynn takes the popsicles back to the freezer, returning to his station at the sink. Just make sure the clothes you got all fucking fit, right? I can't remember the last time I saw you dressed up. It fits, dude. My parents drag me to all sorts of black tie events and stuff where I have to stand around and lie about my career goals. You haven't done that in ages. I went to the charity gala thing 2 years ago. You mean 20 pounds ago? Most of it's muscle. I'm not calling you fat lard ass. I'm saying that when it comes time for the interview and you come in with a hoodie and a cargo pants, they're gonna think that you don't give a fuck. I mean, I kinda don't, you know? Oh, the fuck you don't. You're really looking forward to disappointing the shit out of your folks again. They're used to it. Jesus fucking Christ. Daxton and I exchange an awkward glance. Yeah, this is awkward. I'm half tempted to follow Cole's lead and start pretend texting. You worked at the freight warehouse for years and were miserable. Can't blame me for not looking forward to the same sort of thing. Carl feigns a raspy chuckle, though by the jittering of his hooves against the bar stool, it's apparent he's tense. And now I have my own house. I see his slitted gaze shift briefly to Daxton, who looks like he's concentrating very hard on cheese cutting. Mostly. And print and design, that's basically working with all the same computer shit you do for your art crap. Seeming to note an opportunity to diffuse, Daxton chimes in. You're an artist, Cole? Shit, by like the loosest definition of the term, I guess. Flynn just rubs his temple some, shifting his attention back to cooking. Nice work, Daxton. He places the freshly washed vegetables into a metal pot on the stove with one of those steamer lid things on top. What kind of art do you do? You don't seem like the oil-based pastoral type. Cole blinks. I hear Flynn grunt derisively, the clicking of the stove top audible as he turns the nozzle for the gas. His heavy tail flicks behind him, lightly slapping the floor. I realise he's trying to get my attention, his eyes meeting mine and then moving to Daxton, and finally flicking to a textbook by the dishwasher. Art History 101, Historical Perspectives and Fundamentals. Glancing back, I think I see the corner of Flynn's mouth twitch up at me before he turns back around to his pot of veggies. It's still kinda weird seeing Flynn in a work outfit all the time. In high school, he was more of a jeans and jacket kind of guy. A southwestern rockabilly who didn't like rock and roll. His work slacks are pretty baggy and definitely hide the definition of his legs. Flynn's got a V-shaped physique through and through, narrow calves but thicker thighs and a sizable rump. When he bends forward a little, I can see the outline of it all. The lewd side of my mind is starting to wonder if he's doing it on purpose. But why would he, after what he said this morning? Pastorals? I'm not very good at backgrounds or anything. Portraiture then? Very snazzy stuff, that. The salamander smiles at Cole, showing his rounded cheeks. Cole just looks at him confused. I decide now's a good time to interject and spare Cole from Daxton's entry-level college art class inquiries. Cole draws pop culture character stuff mainly, I think. I haven't really checked out his portfolio profile for a while. Superheroes, comics, you know, that sort of thing. It's really good stuff. It's not. He pauses, shifting his phone in his paws akin to rolling putty. Since superhero movies became really popular, everyone draws that stuff now, most better than me. It's kind of a dead-end style, I guess. Can't make any money from anything I make. Carl sounds more like he's quoting something, rather than stating an actual opinion. Daxton raises a brow, nodding in acknowledgement. There's a pause that only sound the bubbling of boiling water and Daxton's knife hitting the plastic cutting board. Well, not if you draw them with their clothes off. The salamander tries to put on his most innocent face. That lasts for about 3 seconds before breaking into a wry smile and Cole's groaning, the ram taking a long swig from his beer. He's grinning too now though. Everyone online tells me that, but I don't know, man. Every time I try to draw Chaos Wolverina's tits, they just look like big ass furry eyes stuck to her chest. Daxton laughs, and I find myself chittering a bit too. You could try drawing guys if women are giving you too much trouble. You'd like that, wouldn't you, Chase? I don't like superhero stuff that much. Well, I wouldn't judge you if you did, Cole. I've written a few awkward sex scenes in my day. You're a writer? That I am. At least I'm trying to be. I'm taking creative writing courses at Mesa to get better. The folks really wanted me to get into marketing like them, but I'm not really into it. Ah, lucky. I'm having to go into debt, so I'm not sure if I'm that lucky. Hopefully one of the books I'm working on will sell well. Most people don't read these days. The salamander places the cut-up cheese upon slices of rye bread, and then puts the bread on the cooking tray, sighing as he looks to Flynn. Not everyone can suffice of coming home from work and staring at the wall for hours like you, Flynn. Some people like some degree of mental input, yeah? What? Flynn flicks the stove top off, his eyes lolled and his brow ridge furrowed. Daxton passes him, with the tray of rye and hervati, sliding it into the oven. You call the shit you write mental input? The Gila stops what he's doing, squinting at Daxton. Did you defrost that hervati, or did you just seriously just spend the past 15 minutes cutting into a frozen block of cheese? This side of the house is like an oven, with the habitat running like this. The cheese warmed up on its own, after a while at room temperature. Flynn throws up his hands, visibly exasperated. It wouldn't have taken you 15 damn minutes to cut a few slices of cheese if you just defrosted it. Are you in a rush or something? What do you mean about him staring at the wall for hours? The salamander looks standoffish now, his arms crossed. My question seems to have been ignored. Might be. Daxton, what sort of stuff do you write? Surprisingly, Carl was the one to butt in this time. Daxton turns, getting out some plates. Mainly science fiction and fantasy. You know, Ad Astra, right? I mean, I've heard of it, but I have not played it. Carl takes another drink of beer, rubbing his beard in thought. Sort of. I don't really watch it myself. It's that space exploration starship show from the 60s with the sexy aliens? Daxton snaps his fingers. Yeah, that's the one. People draw a lot of porn of them. I'm aware. Anyway, I used to watch it a lot with my little brother growing up. I got into the whole piece in the cosmos through science thing, something fierce. The stories for each episode were based on real science. The salamander finishes setting out the plates, bumping his fists together and smiling a bit sheepishly. I'm taking a few physics and engineering courses at Mesa to try and better understand it for all my own writing. Makes sense. I also really like the whole diplomacy part, the ultimate goal of all first contacts being peace and learning. You don't really see that much anymore. That's very Star Trek. Yeah. Like this one episode from Season 6 of Frontier is a really good example of that, and it really inspires a lot of about what I'm trying to write in my story. Oh, phone. Hello? It's Leo. Ah, man. Hey, you're not at the motel? Dude, just stop following me. A sort of sinking feeling takes hold in my chest. I can feel Flynn looking at me from over the counter as I type my reply. Nah, I'm at Flynn's. I'm with Cole, Daxton and Flynn, about to eat dinner. When I look up again, Daxton's still chatting away to Cole about the Ad Astra episode, but I'm not really paying attention anymore. He's serving up the steamed vegetables and the fancy cheese bread fresh from the oven. The bread looks a little burnt around the edges, but maybe it's supposed to be that way. Oh, Leo. Of course you are. My fingers reflexively squeeze tighter on my phone. He's a salty dude. Flynn quietly walks around the counter, stepping behind me to look over my shoulder. At first, I think he's going to say something, but he doesn't. He's silent. With a sharp exhale, I begin typing my reply. We can all hang out tomorrow. I found some interesting stuff for my project at City Hall. Flynn makes a noise, though I can't really tell whether it's of encouragement or disapproval. I need to talk to you one-on-one. I reply. What about? Leo responds almost instantly. You know exactly what, do I? Oh god. At this point, I realise Cole's looking over at my screen as well. I'd call him and Flynn both out for being rude, were this any other time. Daxton, meanwhile, just looks at us with a concerned expression on his face. What's up? Don't worry about it. Carl and Flynn both look at me expectantly as my thumb hovers over the reply button. Should I even respond at this point? I have no clue how he could have found out about Flynn and I, if that's truly what he means. Leo's never really been good at getting his point across through text. He failed many an English class growing up. He always preferred to talk face to face, so maybe if I can be convincing enough in person, he won't be so worried. Or maybe I should just tell the fucking truth. I hate this. I'm not even sure I did anything really wrong, but I can't help but feel like garbage. And now my pseudo-infidelity lying game is becoming a spectacle. I decide I might as well respond with at least somewhat true response now. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I shove my phone back into my pocket and Flynn steps back. This is fucking stupid. Carl just looks at Flynn with a flat expression. What? Carl shrugs. Like I said to Chase earlier, man, I won't say anything. Daxton quietly chews on his very crunchy cheese bread, looking at us from the other side of the counter. Drama? Yeah. He moves from my side to back over around the kitchen island, grabbing his plate of food and taking a big mouthful of broccoli. You all want to watch some Ad Astra? The salamander smiles awkwardly, gesturing to the small living room area. I'm down. Carl holds up his bottle of beer before taking a swig. Chase, Flynn. I sigh. Usually TV is a bit too passive for me when I'm trying to get my mind off stuff. Most often, I turn to video games instead. Still, Daxton seems pretty passionate about all this, so I guess it can't hurt. Sure, though all I've ever seen of it are a few of the movies, I think. Oh, which ones? The ones with the lens flare and the chrome. Daxton looks as if a bad taste just settled on his palate. The Tammy brothers directed those ones. They tried way too hard to be edgy and action-packed, completely ignored proper characterization. Like Lieutenant Gamokra firing the plasma emitter at the Forbesian ambassador, she's completely non-violent in the original series. She took a vow of peaceful resolution following the violence cascade that destroyed her homeworld in the first season. But the writers just thought it would be cool for the trailers if they showed her disintegrating a guy while screaming her head off. I really like the thought-provoking philosophical stuff, not the protagonist running around killing people. Daxton huffs, rubbing his fist against his smooth brow. I'm not sure exactly how to respond. Yeah, that's pretty not great when that happens. I like the space battles though. Of course, they were made to appeal to a casual audience. I blink. Daxton quickly holds up his hands, eyes widening. Oh, I didn't mean it as an insult or anything. No offence taken. I offer him a reassuring nod, taking a bite of the steamed veggies. They certainly taste fresh. Flynn must have gotten these in Payton. Daxton's stuck having to do with us filthy casuals tonight. Again, sorry, it's not what I meant. No, I know what you mean. You dig it because you grew up with the original shit, and you have all sorts of fuzzy feelings about it. I'm actually kind of surprised to hear Flynn chime in. Yeah, I mean, looking back, the original series is pretty dumb and cheesy. But it wasn't for you when you were a kid, or the tit-dirts who watched it back in the 60s. Yeah, dude, back when we were kids, Leo's dad would get us all a bunch of random VHS tapes from the thrift shop in Colville every now and then. Like really dumb kung fu movies, or straight-to-video slasher flicks. It didn't even matter if they were R-rated. Sometimes on summer nights, we'd gather at Leo's place and watch a bunch of them until almost morning. They were all terrible. It was great. I find myself smiling a bit. I'd almost forgotten about all that. Oh jeez, Flynn would always get super into them. He would yell at the screen every time the characters did something stupid. Carl chuckles into his paw, grinning toothily at the Gila. Oh man, you'd get so butthurt. You'd start stomping around and slamming Leo's cabinets until you got into trouble. Flynn looks off to the side. If lizards could blush, I'm almost certain he'd be doing so now. Whenever there was someone with a gun on screen, but they never had any trigger discipline, and completely held their guns wrong, and every time, every movie, someone was being chased by some killer or whatever, they completely forgot how to run. Yeah, you kept count of how many times everyone tripped. You even had a little notepad with your trip tally. Daxton looks absolutely tickled by this revelation about Flynn. That sounds hilarious. I wish I had friends like you guys growing up so I could do that sort of thing. Flynn waves dismissively. It was alright. I remember we could never do it when TJ was around. Satanic propaganda and all that, wasn't it? He would have been fine with it if we eased him into it. We could have started him off with Bloodfire Babes of Babylon. Cole nods sagely, sipping at the last bit of his beer before getting up to retrieve another from the fridge. So, Flynn, you want, yeah, maybe. Daxton looks pretty elated, the amphibian's slightly chubby cheeks puffed out as he grins. I know of some really schlocky episodes from the first few seasons of the original series. I'll put those on. Sounds good, dude. Daxton sets his plate down, fast walking to the TV in the living room. After a moment, Cole looks over at me. Nerd alert. Hey, you guys are hitting it off. You guys are hitting it off really, really easily. Flynn goes to slide his now empty plate into the sink, slapping Cole on the back of his head as he passes. Fucking rich coming from your neckbeard ass. Hey, I mean it endearingly. Across the room, Daxton waves at us. Hey, I think I got it. The internet's kinda slow out here because it's satellite, but it suffices. Flynn meanders on over, lounging of a love seat on the left side of the living room. His tall stature results in his legs hanging far over the edge, the lizard scratching his exposed chest with a yawn. He cranes his long neck to look back at me and Cole. You tit's gonna sit all the way back there? Hey, Cole, I'm coming. Cole gives me a little nudge, we follow suit, beers in grasp. Looking at Flynn now, I realise that part of me wishes I could go over there and lay beside him. More practically, I sit in the recliner in the centre of the room, while Carl and Dax take the other sofa. Okay, so in this episode, Captain Amicus lands on our planet in the year 1968. He's looking for technology to stop an uprising in the future, but Dax, shut up. No, spoilers dude, no spoilers. Okay, fine. We just gotta watch and enjoy. How was it? Captain Amicus, the slime women, they're in the engine room. This leaves me no choice, cadet. Activate self-destruct protocol, Baker 1-9er. But Captain, there's no time for debate. Get to the escape pods. Captain, the test results just came in. They aren't slime women, they're cell women. They're multiplying as a result of some sort of cancer-like phenomenon. By God, cadet, this changes everything. Deactivate self-destruct protocol. If these are cells, then our ship is one sick patient. Cadet, flood engineering with radiation pulses at 3-second intervals, maximum output. I still don't understand why the cell women have tits. Why are they women in the first place? Or why all the lady officers don't wear pants. Carl takes another glug of his beer, this being his third so far on my count. I said I was going to show you the bad ones. Daxton looks a bit defensive, leaning forward on the edge of his seat, his plump tail wrapped around the armrest. Carl idly chucks a throw pillow at the salamander. I'm not complaining, dude. He laughs a little as Daxton eases, chucking it back at him with a bit more force. Carl takes the blow like a champ, in the regard that he doesn't even react beyond smiling goofily. It's surprising to see Carl comfortable like this around a stranger. I can't help but feel kinda happy he can still come out of his shell every now and then. It's fucking dumb. How does anyone take this shit seriously? They don't, and we're certainly not. Having fun. Is that my phone? I glance over toward Flynn, who's digging in his pockets for his phone. He taps the unlock button, squinting at the bright screen, the black and orange scales on his face seeming to glow silver and yellow in the light. I find myself leaning forward a little, trying to read the tiny text on the screen. It takes me a moment to realise that Flynn isn't looking at the screen anymore. He's looking at me. He huffs, moving the screen away from my view, before beginning to text something. Is it, No, it's not Leo. Flynn stares at his phone some, a sort of expectant expression upon his muzzle. Hey, I don't mean to be prying and such, but who's Leo? Daxton seems to be asking me this. Here's my ex. Flynn glances back for a moment, though says nothing. Oh, Leo's a guy. Yes. Cool. The salamander frowns in an acknowledging fashion, nodding his head some before refocusing his attention back to the TV. Captain Amicus is in the midst of being attacked by the slime women. Even with the prosthetics and lighting, I can tell that all the slime women are actually just a bunch of amphibians in green body paint. Flynn's phone vibrates again. He taps at it, clearly not really much of a fast texter. After finishing his text, he hastily shoves the phone back into his pocket. I'm heading out. He pushes himself up from the couch, unruffling his shirt before meandering over toward a bowl in the kitchen to get his truck keys. Wait, what now? Come on, shithead. Daxton briefly smirks at Cole's term before seconding. Yeah, this is actually pretty fun. Where are you going? Out. You should get back to the motel before the others start bitching. I feel my face grow hot, my fists start to clench. Okay, maybe drop the mysterious act then, arsehole? Flynn just heads off to the front door, swatting his tail against the kitchen island and flicking me off as he exits. Flynn. He's out the door without further comment, and I can hear the chirping sound from his truck outside as he unlocks it. Fucking moody, am I right? Think something's up? Carl shakes his head. Nah, he's just trying to be cool. It's not working. The dude gets uncomfortable with casual social stuff, I think. He's 25 years old? This is bullshit. I wish he'd just be straight with me. Daxton snickers, though he quickly shakes his head, stifling it. What? If he was being straight with you, you wouldn't be getting so pissed about this, I think. Straight, as in you two not macking on each. I get it. I sigh, letting myself sink back into the suede fabric of my chair, it automatically reclining for me the more pressure I put on it. I'm starting to regret Cole finding out about all this. If he didn't know, it wouldn't be so much of a thing. It would have been easier to just pretend it never even happened in the first place. I wouldn't have to deal with lying to the guy I loved for most of my teenage life. I'm gonna hit play again, if that's okay. I'm staring at the ceiling now, but I can feel them both looking at me. Go ahead. I'm just gonna close my eyes for a bit, okay? Gotcha, dude. We'll wake you if something cool happens. So, we'll wake you in the morning. I'm gonna get a beer, be right back. Alright, let the show play on. I shut my eyes and hear the trademark Adastra music resume. A large paw gently pats my shoulder, followed by audible hoof clops from the kitchen floor behind me. And then I guess we fell asleep. I stare up at the unmoving ceiling fan above me. In the dark, everything looks all grainy. It seems like the lights are still on, but the dimmer is so low, they might as well not be. It must be a salamander thing. Speaking of, him and Cole aren't here anymore? I'll try to recollect just how much time has passed since I closed my eyes. It feels like just a minute ago. As I rise to a stand, I kind of feel sluggish for some reason, like my legs are still asleep. My face feels kind of numb too. I always feel worse after taking naps. I'm not really sure I get the appeal of taking them once a day like my mum does. Moving to the nearby window, I squint at my reflection. I look like hell. And who shaved off my goatee? I blink, it's still not there. I'm not that heavy of a sleeper, so I would have felt someone doing that. I don't think Cole's that cruel, is he? I turn, peering toward Daxton's room. His door's open and the bed's empty. They left me here. Why? Oh, my phone vibrates in my pocket. Oh, Leo. I'm coming. What? I text him back, though I seem to have caught a case of the Flynn. My text dexterity is awful right now. Everyone left? I think I'm alone at Flynn's now. While I'm at it, I also send a quick text to Carl and Flynn, asking them where they are. A vibrating noise comes from the kitchen after I send Flynn's message. He must have left it out when he went. When I walk into the kitchen, I see the phone propped up against the key bowl on the island countertop that Flynn swatted earlier. The screen's brightness illuminates everything around it with a picture of my face. It's low resolution, like he cropped and stretched it himself from one of my social media pictures. The photo's from a class trip I took sophomore year in the Carbird Caverns. I'm wearing a hard hat and it doesn't fit. The way the phone's propped up, it almost looks like it's on display. It's a weird way to place it. I know I shouldn't snoop through his phone, but if he wants to act all mysterious and dismissive, he's leaving me not much choice. Also, someone shaved my goatee off. That warrants enough an emergency, right? I tap the screen and my message appears. I'm asking him where he is and telling him that everyone left. Tabbing back, I see one other message. The rest seem to have been deleted, and it's from someone called Ryan. He has no given profile picture. The bar's at 33 South Allow Way, off to Hankley and Route 93. Winky smiley face. Hankley and 93? I think that's by the casino near the edge of the reservation. I spent most of the day looking at the map of the county, so I think I've got a pretty good spatial sense of where it is now. The question is, why did Flynn leave this here, and just this message on it? It's like he wanted me to find it, and he wanted me to follow him. Jesus, does he think that I'm that much of a snoop? Because apparently I am. This time, it's my phone that buzzes. Another message from Leo. Hey. What? I type a quick response. Have to go? Sorry, Leo. Oh, okay. I'll shove my phone back into my pocket and head outside. It's actually nippy out in comparison to the heat of the day. Sheet clouding covers about half of the sky above, and there's a tinge of humidity in the air, which is surprising. We usually get less than an inch of rain this time of year. Phone again? Leo. Are you serious? I sigh, putting my phone back and getting my keys out. I'll think of something and apologise later. I don't feel nearly as sluggish as I did before, thankfully. Once inside my car, I put the keys into the ignition, enough to keep the inside lights on while I fiddle with the GPS. 33 South Allow Way. Got it. It looks like it's about a 22-minute drive according to this thing. Dude, where are you going? I look over. Carl and Daxton are staring at me through the passenger window, concerned expressions on their faces. Well, a concerned expression on Daxton's face. Carl just looks drunk. What? Where have you guys been? With you? Why the hell did you guys shave off my goatee? Dude, are you like allergic to Havarti or something? It was actually Gorgonzola. The Havarti Flynn wanted was kind of sketch. Carl smiles lopsidedly at Daxton. Dastardly. What are you? I reach out to grab my chin, feeling the familiar scruff of dark brown hair upon my paw pads. I feel my heart start to thump heavy in my chest. The hell? Daxton opens the passenger door. Are you sure you should be driving? You're kind of wigging out, no offence. I angle the rearview mirror down toward me. Sure enough, there it is on my chin. I'm sorry, I could have sworn that it was missing earlier. Well, you were sleeping? It could have been a nightmare. I read about all this stuff online. It's your subconscious playing out your deepest desires, man. Carl slurs some, looking a mix of dazed and chipper. I don't think so, Carl. But look, are you guys coming with me? I think Flynn wanted us to follow him. Yeah, we saw the message. They did. I don't know, he's kind of a private guy. If we're wrong, he's gonna be pissed. We could think of it like an away mission. Even in the dark, I can practically feel Daxton cringe. Oh god, Cole. I don't know, I'll go with you, but I'll hang back in the car. I'm still a bit reeling from the whole facial hair fiasco, but the banter's making me feel better. Well, you could be tactical support. This is why I don't usually share my interests with other people. Carl clambers into the back seat first, nearly toppling over. Daxton climbs up front, a little tipsy, but he seems to have most of his motor functions intact. Luckily, I don't have classes on Fridays. We're gonna go for a drive. So, was that a nightmare, or was that some kind of weird curse thing that just happened? I'm not sure. I squint, trying to peer beyond what's illuminated by my headlights. Driving feels difficult right now. My nerves are kind of fried, tingling beneath my fur. I end up overcorrecting on every slight turn. It doesn't help that this shitty state highway is so meandering and completely devoid of light. Out here, even the main stretches of road sidewind around the hills and mountains. I guess I'm used to Pueblo, where they just flatten or tunnel through everything. My issues right now might also be stemming from the fact that I'm also still a little inebriated. Fuck, I used to be so damn hard on Leo whenever he drank and drive. And now here I am. Yeah, don't do this shit, never drink and drive, bad times. Maybe I should have brought my meds. Veer right in 1 mile. Okay, Chase, I loosen my grip on the wheel some, peering in the rearview mirror and catching the glint of Cole's green eyes looking back at me. This feels familiar, doesn't it? I furrow my brow. I'm not sure what he means. We were both just starting high school. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about? Carl doesn't respond, and the silence follows. He stares out his window, with his gaze lulled, his phone sitting idle in his lap. Daxton's looking curiously at us now, though when neither of us speaks up, he goes back to picking at the planet print on his shirt. I kind of feel like I'm sneaking out to go to a party or something, you know? He looks over at me with a slight smile. Well, we might be. We're gonna arrive at this address and find Flynn in a gimp suit surrounded by a warehouse full of rubber ducks. Wow, Carl lets out a quiet rumble with a snicker. Yeah man, this feels real familiar. We pass the flat, concrete pad where an old gas station once stood. Again, I think Carl's about to speak, but he says nothing. I don't get out much, you know? Around here, there's not much to get out to. The salamander rolls his shoulders and then shakes his head. I could always drive to Peyton. I've got my scooter. It just doesn't feel worth it, you know? I mean, not just gas or monetary reasons. It just isn't comfortable to be away from home. I've got basically everything I need. And I've got that Prime delivery account that drops off groceries on my doorstep. It's weird how easy it is to feel like that's normal. I surround myself with TV, books and video games, and the fact that I'm alone in the middle of the desert doesn't even affect me. You got Flynn for company, don't you? We keep to our separate sides of the house usually. Sometimes almost a whole week goes by without me actually seeing him. There's always the internet, dude. You got online friends and all that stuff for gaming, right? Daxton adjusts his seat, giving himself some more legroom. I post on a fan forum pretty regularly. I'm a moderator. Let me guess, for a Dastra, yeah. Give me your phone. Daxton blinks. What? Cole makes a grabby motion with his paw toward Daxton. Just give me it for a sec. Daxton clutches his cell to his chest, looking uneasily toward the drunken ram. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through your messages on nudie pics. Who do you think I am, Chase? That one stung. Arsehole. Daxton slowly relents, keeping a close eye on Cole as he gives him his phone. He taps back at it in silence for about 15 seconds before passing it back. There, you got me in your contacts. I also put my username for gamers and stuff, if you ever want to play together on PC. Oh, thanks. The salamander quickly checks the screen before looking back at Cole. I'll send you a message or something when I get home if you ever want a game, or if I need a hook up with some ice cream. Cole makes a flubbering noise with his mouth. Ice cream boy at your service, dude, man. Service. Daxton titters some, shaking his head. I was just kidding with the last part. I wouldn't ever do that. I mean, you must get sick of hearing it all the time. Cole shakes his head, even after he begins to speak. Nah, I don't like tell people that shit very often because it's awk, you know. Though, I totally will hook you up. I used to do that for Flynn and Leo, but then Flynn went on his old health food bullshit. And Leo, I don't know, he stopped asking. Veer, right. My arms stiffen, and I swerve into the off-ramp with more gusto than I meant. I feel the other's eyes on me as I try to act casual. Looks like it's just up ahead. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere, isn't it? This isn't the reservation yet, right? I look toward the horizon. I can just make out the familiar glint of the Blue Diamond Casino past one of the rolling hills. Everything out here is in the middle of nowhere, but no, the reservation's on the other side of the casino. Do you guys ever go there? No, I'm not much into gambling. I bet gun skins on ranked matches online sometimes. That place is mainly for really old people, packed in their RVs. Flynn and I were talking about it the other day. Like, they paint the ceilings all blue sky coloured, don't display any clogs, and simulate sunlight inside. Trick the seniors into staying longer. That's messed up. Capitalism at its finest, dude man. Is that my nickname now? What? Dude man? It sounds like Daxton. Most people just default to Dax. Your destination is ahead 400 yards. Carl seems like he's about to say something, but quiets as we all see the destination. Oh jeez. I turn off the road, the loosely packed gravel seeming to scatter under my tyres. Where are we? We're here. It's a long red building. The exterior is mostly dilapidated, the wood siding falling apart in places. I can see only 2 windows, both of which have coloured construction paper blocking the view inside. There's no signage indicating what the hell the name of this place even is. Well, at least none right now. It looks like there's some broken neon lettering along the roof's edge, but I can't make out anything legible from it. There's about a half dozen cars parked behind the building, and Flynn's truck is the only one out front. He's here for sure. The salamander reaches into his pocket and, to my surprise, pulls out Flynn's phone. When did you grab that? Daxton cocks his head at me holding up the phone. Right after we looked at it? I rub my forehead. Were Daxton and Carl really inside the house with me earlier and I didn't just notice them? Are you okay, Chase? Are you nervous about talking to Flynn? Just pretend he's in his underwear, then intimidate him with your erection until he's no longer mad at us for stalking him. Damn. The ram nods sagely, giving me a bit of a serene look. I stare back at him. That's how the gays work. I read it on the blog site. He holds up his phone. The one with all the gays. I feel myself smirking a little. I'm fine, guys. I just had a weird nap earlier. I'm still getting my brain unfuzzed. Cool, but Cole looks back toward the building. I'm still gonna chill here in the car. He clears his throat, sitting more upright. Tactical support, yeah? Daxton covers his face with his dark hands. Cadet Hunter and Lieutenant Daxton, prepare to beam out. Thanks, Captain Cole. Make sure to, scan for life signs and report any anomalies. Oh, God. Daxton exits the car in embarrassment. Oh, no, man. Lieutenant Daxton beamed out too early. His particles are destabilizing. Jesus, I hear enough of this stuff moderating the roleplay sub from. I don't need to hear it in real life. He walks up to one of the front windows, seemingly trying to peer inside through one of the gaps in the construction paper. I open the door, about to head out, when I feel Cole's paw on my shoulder. Hey, man. I blink some, looking back at him. The parking lot light overhead gives his fur a sort of orangey appearance, and his eyes look blue. What's up? You've been, like, really quiet tonight. I know I haven't been around you in 2 years, but you're still acting, I don't know, weird from what I remember. Cole, just don't worry, okay? He looks to the building. You know how he gets, but overall, Flynn's cool. He leans back in his seat, pulling up his phone, the illuminating blue glow of the screen replacing the faint orange of the streetlight. Just don't tell him I said that. I exhale, smiling despite myself. Alright, Carl. I turn around, pausing. I know you have your interview, but we should talk later. Catch up properly? You know it, man. And I'm glad that you're getting on well with Daxton, truly. I see him grinning in the rearview mirror. It's weird. He's like someone I'd meet online, but like in real life, you know? I'm not sure I follow. Don't worry about it. Don't get murdered in there. I smirk dryly. I'll try not to. I step out and nearly close the door on my tail. I must have been more distracted than what I thought. Seeing Daxton against the side of the building, I can't help but think he looks downright eerie. He doesn't have scales like Flynn, so he's just this rubbery black colour that blends into the shadows, as speciesist as that sounds. When he turns toward me, his eyes stick out like headlights in the night. Hey, Chase, check this out. He beckons me over toward a small metal sheet by the door. I step closer. Some words are engraved on the front. So you've heard of us. A winking smiley face is pictured below the text. The hell is this? I know, right? He moves toward the door, his thick tail flicking in an anticipatory sway behind him. I'm surprised that he can control that thing. Watch it be locked. Might as well try. After you, Lieutenant. Don't start. He grasps the handle, and the door opens with ease. Daxton looks over to me once more as we step inside. Okay, we're gonna check out more of this in the next episode. What is inside this place? It's really spooky. Flynn's a secretive guy. Yeah, we will find out more then. This is Ushir signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.